Hi guys, welcome back to the On the Fly podcast with me and my lovely friend here, Mardy. We are back for episode four now, I think.
I think so.
It's been a little while since we recorded, so I was trying to remember. We're going to be focusing on Blanco Tequila today. We were talking last week after we finished recording the podcast about sort of we've kind of been going through like the big base spirits, so
Yeah.
far. We've done whiskey, we've done gin, we've done rum, and we were looking at vodka and thinking actually most vodka cocktails don't taste of vodka, so it's a bit of a weird
Thankfully,
one
no,
to
they
focus
don't.
on. Yeah, that's true. And it also means that the creative section gets significantly easier than it does with any
So
other
easy.
spirit because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what we roll, it's just putting vodka in it.
Yeah.
So we're going to skip straight over that and go to what I would say is probably the last of the big five, if you like, with tequila. Tequila is a spirit that I am not personally a big fan of, so this is going to be
I am.
yeah, this is going to be an interesting one, uh, much more in Mardy's taste than it is mine. But first of all, how's your week been?
My week's been pretty good. Just been busy trying to keep out of the sun. It's been very, very hot here. Um, haven't done too much drinking aside from like water. Got to stay hydrated, right? Um,
Yeah,
but what
I drink
about
water all the
you?
time.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You and your rock
I
star, of course.
I it's been very hot here as well. Not sunny so much, just
Right.
humid and gross, really. I'm sweating a little more than I'd like to admit in
The
here.
most miserable
But
weather.
yeah. Um, but no, I've been working a lot. I've been streaming a lot because I've been doing some streams on Twitch for charity and stuff. Very much kind of the other
Very good.
side of my personality and career to my bartending is gaming and streaming. But yeah, it's been
You
a
got to have
busy
a way
week.
to unwind in this industry,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it makes
I
sense to.
choose to unwind by a secondary career. I'm not really
Of
sure
course.
why that's where I go with it. But then working a lot over this weekend, I did
Very good.
some nice big 12-hour shifts across Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Not the busiest weekend because we've had some got some festivals going on in the UK at the moment. There's like three or
Okay.
four of them all at the same time, which has made every
Oh
bar a
wow.
little bit less busy. Um, so it's not been the most busy, but still, Friday, Saturday is always
Of
gonna have its
course.
rushes. So, but yeah, no, it's been nice. Obviously, with the weather, it's been more busy during the day, and I've mainly worked evenings anyways. But
Oh, that makes
um,
sense.
yeah, it's been good. I've done my fair share of drinking. Not necessarily of any unique or interesting points. More so, just I've finished work
Volume.
now. I'm gonna go have a drink. Yeah, I drank quite a bit last night after work. And I'm thankfully not too hungover now. That hasn't
What were you
started to hit
drinking?
me yet. Oh, it was mostly shots and hooch. I love a good hooch. Um, it's just sugary goodness. Um, it's not. I mean, it's not okay. It's not good, but it's
Well, I
nice.
mean,
So
it gets the
and
job done, right?
it's usually cheap. So
Yeah.
um,
Perfect.
yeah, and then just lots of shots, lots of Jaeger bombs actually. Um,
Hey, I support that.
yeah, switching between Jaeger bombs and hooch like it's yeah,
Oh, that
yeah.
Red Bull
It
though.
was
Like, oof.
yeah, yeah. It was a rough one. But I'm thankfully physically not too bad today.
Excellent.
I've been quite fortunate with hangovers recently, so that's good. I'd love to say I'll take it easy now, but I won't. I'll probably drink plenty more
No, you
through the
won't.
week as
Of
well.
course not.
Um, well, I'll probably have next weekend off drinking actually because I'm going on a camping trip. Though it's a camping trip with friends I usually drink with, so
I can't imagine camping and
we'll
not having
see.
a drink, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
just me.
Maybe it'll just be a different kind of drinking than it is going out to the to the bars
That's
and
fair.
dancing. Um, but yeah, not too much classy drinking perhaps, but lots of cocktail making at work. So
Hey,
I'm getting my decent enough share of it. um,
cool.
there's been we've been we've had these like special shots on at work, and one of them actually quite aptly considering the topic of today's podcast. One of them is basically we use the batch that we make for one of our cocktails, and we're doing it in a shot. So,
Okay.
like it doesn't have the fresh juices and stuff in because they're not in the batch. It's just the other stuff, and that's for
Oh,
a drink we
okay.
do called the Toadette's Tipple, where it's a tequila based cocktail, but it has like yuzu and
Oh. Oh, okay.
like a couple of other little flavors in it and stuff, and so it's like a really like
Yeah.
sour, like almost citrusy, like tequila shot basically. And
Oh, that's interesting blend of
I
flavors there.
I have said to you before that I am quite opposed to tequila as a shot. I don't like it. I will avoid it at any cost. But the shot's really good, and
See,
I think it's mainly because of the yuzu. I like yuzu a lot. But
you just have to find your gateway.
yeah, yeah, I have to. If as long as it's not just tequila, fine, I'll work with it. You know.
Well, you do tequila rose, right? And that's, I mean, it's in the
Yeah,
name, right? That's close enough.
it's in the name though. Anyone I try to say no, it's tequila, they don't seem to agree so much. But you're right. I do like tequila rose. I like tequila adjacent. That's what we'll say. I am.
I want I want you to go into a bar and order a tequila shot, and they're gonna be like, "Okay, what tequila?" And you're like, tequila rose." I want you to do that, and just to be like,
Yeah. Conceptually, that sounds hilarious, but also our bartenders don't care enough about tequila to ask which tequila. They're just gonna do a blanco, and it's gonna be a real blanco at that. So,
"Way to burst my
um,
balloon."
yeah, it's not the same. I mean, tequila is a very American spirit, not
It
particularly,
is
not
definitely.
specifically US, right? As a lot of just North American in general, I guess,
Oh,
influence.
specifically the U.S. For sure.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. It's certainly a lot more popular over there than it is here, right?
Yep. Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, when you think about tequila, it is America's native spirit. It's started in Mexico by the Aztecs, probably around like 1000 BC to 200 AD, somewhere in that neighborhood is when they started fermenting agave. So not quite tequila, but like sort of, when you think about it, like it's on its way to being a mezcal because it's
Right,
all
right,
mezcal is. All tequilas are mezcals, but not all mezcals are tequilas because
right.
it's another one of those ones that's based on location.
Yeah, yeah,
So
and kind of like how we brought gin out of what we'd taken from Geneva.
yes,
It's kind of like the
yeah, exactly. So this was like the Aztecs called it, and I had terrible Spanish, but pulque, and it was just the sap of the agave plant that was fermented. And of course, this went on until the Spanish came and conquered the pulque, and they started distilling it, much like they were distilling brandy. And there was like a combination of mud and agave that they would make into this very, very rough, very, very early mezcal.
I see. So it's mud and
And
plants. That makes sense as to why it tastes
yep,
the way it does. Yeah.
yep. And that continued until about the 1800s, and that's when tequila as we know it was starting to be distilled. And the first people that were distilling tequila was the Cuervo family, and there, of course, Jose Cuervo is
Yeah.
it's the top tequila in America now. I'm sure it's
I think it.
at
I
least a
think it still
familiar
is
brand in
here.
the UK.
It's familiar. It's not. It's not. I think El Jimador is our bestseller.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. El Jimador is our best with like um, Altos, Patron, Cascabel, and Tapatio
Mm-hmm.
in the top five. So, but
Well, that tracks. Yeah,
it's definitely one that we've like.
recognize
It,
it. That's
it's
some.
it's a popular name, but I think it's just declined in popularity here. It's not
Yeah,
good. Um,
it's not bad though either.
it's not
When
viewed
you
positively here, I'd
no,
say.
it isn't here either. But there's definitely ones that I would take it over,
I, I,
and I
I,
have
I
lots
feel
of
like
controversial tequila opinions on some of the brandies
I
and
think
those.
possibly when it comes to like your lower end brands, right, or like your cheaper brands or your kind of more
Right.
house brands, we don't have as many of those for tequila because it's not as big of a spirit here. So in
No, that
terms of
makes
like the
sense.
number of brands, it's going to be one same as how gin was here, right? Where like
Hmm.
you have probably 1/10 of the brands of gin that we have here because it's
Yeah.
British. It's kind of the same the other way around. So we have low end brands, but Jose Cuervo is one of our lower end brands
No, and that
because
makes
of the
it is
volume.
it's
Um,
yeah, it's definitely a
like
lower end brand here too.
it used to be more of a rail one. Now you probably won't find it many places that have a spirit focus. Like it took a similar kind of route that like Smirnoff or Gordon's did, where they used to be
Sure.
popular, and then as cost of living and bar prices went up, people expected slightly better. They started dropping off a little bit. They're only really in places where spirits aren't the focus. At least from my experience, it might be different elsewhere in the UK, but certainly like in Yorkshire and in Manchester, where like I've got most of my experience, I haven't seen Jose Cuervo as much recently. It
Hmm.
started to be more. Olmeca's made a real big speed rail impact in a lot of places I've
Sure.
been. So
That makes sense. Yeah, tequila has, I mean, a huge market share here in the U.S. Actually, like their like tequila brand worldwide, their largest market is the United States, and a lot of that is due to prohibition, like a lot of things are.
yeah,
That's when American consumption of tequila really started because if you get your bathtub gin and whatever white lightning and like
yeah, yeah.
sort of that sort of thing when you could go to Mexico, which isn't far from a lot of places in the US,
True.
and get actual distilled product. And that's kind of when it really started to become, a prominent liquor in the US. And that was actually a law. 1936 is when the margarita was invented, or like kind of came to prominence.
Nice.
Um, an Irishman called Madden was known for his tequila daisy in a Tijuana club, and so that's and of
An
course
Irishman that likes
Daisy,
drinking strong alcohol.
of course,
It's
of
a
course,
story as
things
old as
write
time.
themselves.
Yeah,
But the Spanish word for daisy is margarita, and so that's how that name
didn't
came
know that.
about.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, my knowledge of tequila is limited overall. I would say it's very basic. I guess because I'm not like it's not to my taste most of the time. It's
sure,
only really over the last sort of year maybe that I've actually started really liking anything with tequila in it. So even as a lot of my interests started to be peaked in cocktails and in alcohol, tequila was kind of at the back of that. It was lower down on the list
hmm,
for me, right? So I've not learned as much as I'd like to. And also because it's not as big here, it's not as heavy of a focus. Whereas like clearly you know quite a lot about tequila. It's much more in your skill set, but also you've got more experience with it, and also you like it.
sure.
So
Yeah, no, and it's kind of one of those, like, I would say, like, bartending here in North Carolina more so than when I was bartending in North Dakota. Um, a lot of people drink tequila and want something that's not a margarita but like still sweet, so like I have a million drinks in like my wheelhouse about just like that sort of tequila drink. um and so yeah, it's something that I've kind of focused on because I've had to, because a lot of people really drink it.
that that makes
And
sense. I will
it's
say that the while tequila isn't the most popular spirit overall here in those sense, I
mhm,
think it's like sixth on spirit lists. It's behind
sure,
brandy even here as spirit
that's
sales by
interesting.
volume. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say that most of that tequila consumption comes from shots and from
Oh,
margaritas.
of course.
Margaritas themselves are very popular. You do find a
Yeah.
lot of places um, will like pretty much everywhere will have a margarita on their menu if they do cocktails,
Hmm.
and it's a common order. Like anywhere you go really. Like even where I work now, where we have a big focus on our kind of original gaming based menu.
Hmm.
The margarita is the most oftenly ordered classic
Yeah,
by probably twice as much as anything else.
definitely. It's one of those ones that, at least for me, and like in all the restaurants here that have bars, I would be shocked if I didn't see a margarita or some
Yeah,
variation of a margarita on the menu. Like even
yeah,
when
I'd agree with that.
I worked at a Japanese steakhouse in Hibachi,
Hmm.
and like our top sales, hands down, were like strawberry margaritas that were blended. Rip.
Blended,
I hate I
blended
hate a
margaritas.
I hate a blender at a bar. Yeah. Ooh. Still have flashbacks.
I
Still wake
look.
up from the nightmares.
I think a blended drink goes. Tequila works really well in a blended drink. I
Oh
will say
yeah,
that
it's delicious.
it of course does.
It's
Right,
delicious.
and a frozen margarita is probably the first time I ever drank anything with tequila and went, "This isn't bad."
Hmm.
However, from a bartender perspective, I think it's a trend that should die. I think that it's not something that is. There's just there's so many better ways to do it, and
Well,
you're
because then you get
you're
the
not even
complaints of
the
like, I can't, I can't taste the alcohol. Of course not. You just drank like an entire cup of ice.
your
You
drink is
know,
80%
like
water.
yeah.
You're not
You
going
know,
to
if
be
you're trying
able
to
to.
hydrate and like just drink something light, cool. But like,
Yeah,
that's not,
yeah. If you're drinking it to cool you down, that's fine. If you're drinking it because
of
it's
course.
tequila, so it's a strong drink, then you're
No.
wrong. Like it just doesn't
Yeah,
it doesn't work that way.
you are
They
wrong.
are good. Don't get me wrong. I do feel
Of
like
course.
the way in which tequila has taken its place here is when people look at gin here, they look at it as, oh, it's this spirit with complexity, and we talk about it in this way, and it's got
Yeah.
this element
Yeah.
of class, and we put this in it. And you talk about whiskey here, and there's like a lot to its culture and where it comes from, and all that. I feel like the
Hmm.
way tequila is viewed here is, let's shot it and get really drunk, or it's a really good low to mid range cocktail filler. Margaritas are, you'll find margaritas in every classy cocktail bar, sure. You'll also find margaritas in all of your low end chain cocktail bars where they're more based around volume of drinking than they are quality,
Sure.
right? In the
Well,
same places that you'd expect espresso martinis to be popular, you'd expect margaritas to be popular.
of
But then
course.
you'd also find them at your outdoor bars. You'd also find them if any pubs here that aren't focused on cocktails but have cocktail shakers, they'll make a margarita.
Right.
It's super common as like a very kind of base level, entry level. This is a cocktail. So it's
Well, I wonder if some of the reason that there hasn't been as much development in tequilas, like they're like, when you said gin and things like that, is because like the standardization of tequila is relatively recent. Like
right.
Mexico just got like the copyright for like, all the trademarks for what is tequila in 1974. So it's still pretty
That's
pretty
it is a
young
lot more
in
recent,
like,
yeah.
and also it's made in such a small area because they're like each different tequila is regional to a different state in Mexico, and that's
Right.
that's the only place it can be produced. So I think that maybe a little bit of like that limitation goes along with the fact that it is like these standardizations and kind of ownership that Mexico has over it now is pretty new within like the history of liquor.
That makes sense. I think also there's something to be said for, we've talked before about the difference in drinking culture here compared to there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the sort of high volumes and how much of ours is based around getting drunk and partying as opposed to enjoying the drinks.
Yeah, no, that
Tequila
makes sense.
is at the forefront of that. Like
Of course.
if you said to someone here, oh, you're going out to a bar, you want to get drunk and have a dance, what are you drinking? They're either getting a vodka and coke or cranberry or whatever, a
Mm-hmm.
vodka mixer, or they're like, okay, what about shots? You're going to get some shots? They're going to go with tequila. If you say to someone, can you go to the bar and get me some tequila? They're coming back with shots.
Of course.
Like it's very much, it's got this kind of perspective on it here of being, this is going to get me more drunk than anything else. This is something I'm going to drink quickly to get drunk. So
Of
it's
course.
kind of
Yeah.
almost fallen hand in hand with a lot of trashier drinking practices here. Therefore, it takes more to put it into a place that isn't that, right? It's kind of the opposite of gin, where you don't fight, you won't, no one's shotting gin. Like it,
There's not a
it
song that's like gin makes her clothes fall off. Like those
exactly,
aren't
yeah,
lyrics.
yeah. So like it's that's kind of the way that it's viewed as much. I'm sure it's got a similar connotation in a lot of parts of America, but it's
Of
almost
course.
exclusively that connotation here.
Yeah, no,
That's only really
definitely.
changed at all past few years. Really, we've started to get quite a few tequila bars open up here now, um,
Yes.
and that's been quite a big thing. Or even a lot of bars, even if they don't necessarily market themselves purely as a tequila bar, they'll have a big focus on it. There's one right next door to us called Crazy Pedro's. which
Mm,
is basically like a tequila dive bar. I
okay.
don't know if they'd want me to call them a dive bar, but you
Well,
know, they make really good pizzas and they have a
oh,
lot
okay.
of tequila. So it's
Tequila and
very kind of
pizza. That's a
yeah,
vibe.
yeah. It's really really good. And they've got like a slushy machine with frozen margaritas in it.
Mm.
They have on their menu liter of Rita, which is like a 25 pound liter jug of the margarita. Like it's
Oh yeah.
it's crazy. So that's the kind of connotations it comes with, as opposed
Oh
to
yeah.
let's put this on a classy menu. So
No, we
yeah, and
definitely
like
have those those here where you can wear the glass on your head, essentially. Like
yeah,
it's like a
yeah. Mhm.
40-ounce
Um,
cocktail.
and like when you think about like other tequila classics, like some of the ones we're going to talk about later, or like a Paloma or like an El
Hmm.
Diablo, right? Some of the other more popular ones, they're not really seen here. Margarita's everywhere, but
Oh,
Paloma amongst tequila bars, sure they'll talk about it. That's it.
of course.
You very
Of
rarely
course.
see it on any of the menus. And
You
El
know, I
Diablo,
guess I don't
like
really see it on
unheard of here,
menus either. Sure. Yeah. I think
Um,
that I've had a Paloma on a menu before and it did very well, but it's one of those ones that I think people are learning about, or some people know. Like one of the bars that I worked at was a very Paloma heavy place, and like to the point where like we had to only get red grapefruit juice because it tastes different than like the pink grapefruit juice tastes different than the white one. It's but it has the visual aspect of it, right?
yeah,
Um, but I think it's one of those drinks that goes so like the bitterness of the grapefruit juice with a little bit of sweet goes so well with tequila because tequila's already pretty sweet.
it
I think that
does,
more
and it's
people
also like
should know about the Paloma.
all of my least favorite things.
That's
Um,
fair.
I I respect the Paloma greatly. I dislike it immensely.
Well,
It's I don't like grapefruit. I don't like that bitterness, and I don't like tequila. So you know, it's maybe not a favorite of mine, but it is a classic. It's a popular one, and yet very rarely kind of heard of here.
oh
Um,
yeah.
but
No, it's
yeah,
even better if you
well,
go to the Mexican grocery store and get Mexican um, grapefruit squirt. Essentially, is what it is, and it's made with cane sugar. Here, everything is made with high fructose corn syrup, but there's got the cane sugar that has like the more pure sugar flavor, and making
yeah,
palomas with that instead is
I
fantastic.
I can imagine. Yeah,
Even you might
I can
like that.
imagine. Yeah, maybe it's.
Maybe,
I mean, when I was at Moxie and I put together my cocktail menu, I made sure to have a tequila drink on there.
of
Um,
course.
I didn't do much more than that because it's not a favorite of mine, so it didn't make sense.
Hmm.
Um, but one of the classic twists that I had on that menu was called a Paloma Faith, which was basically like a sweeter version of a Paloma. Instead of the
Okay.
grapefruit soda, I used a grapefruit sherbet from Bristol Co. and
Ooh,
uh,
nice.
a grape soda, Old Jamaica.
Oh yeah,
Um,
love grape soda.
so it was like super sweet, but it had like a nice layered kind of setup. And yeah, and I think it was the El Tequileño I used for it, which was the first time I'd seen that, and now it's
Mm.
really growing in popularity here.
I'm not familiar with that one.
El Tequileño is uh, it's a pretty good brand. It's
Hmm.
I don't mind it, which for
Wow,
me speaks of its
shocking.
quality.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I the only time I ever taste tequila and go, that's pretty good. It's usually quite expensive, so
No, I mean
maybe I'm
that's
just accidentally a
you
bougie
just got
bitch. Who
champagne
knows?
taste, Jordan.
Yeah. Right. Shall we talk about some of our
Yeah,
classics
I think
then?
that
Because we
it's
both brought
time to
a
talk a little
classic
bit
recipe
about
as we
that.
do.
Cool.
What classic have you brought for us today?
I brought more of a contemporary classic this time. It's called the Margarita Al Pastor. Um, and it kind of has a kind of an interesting history. It was developed in 2009, actually in London. Um, Bartender named Benjamin
Interesting.
Novoa was in he was in London taking a cocktail class, oddly, and the final exam was to create a twist on a classic cocktail. And what he came up with, because he's like, I'm Mexican, I want to do some sort of tequila drink, and he fat washed tequila with pork, and then kind of made
Okay.
it into sort of like a taco, something that tasted like a taco. And I really, on a personal note, love drinks that taste like food. It's one of my absolute favorites. So I had to
Yeah.
pick
Well,
this one.
when we were at EBS, one of the cocktails that you put together was uh, it had
A
that kind
southern
of vibe to it,
barbecue.
right?
Yep, and
Yeah.
it was only that was bourbon, or it was rye actually, that was fat washed with pork fat. So yeah, kind of the same little vibe there.
Nice,
But
nice.
what this is the more modern version, is a Blanco tequila with pineapple juice, a little bit of blue curacao to add not just the flavor but also color, because then it makes it a vibrant green with the pineapple juice, and a little bit of lime juice. And then the rim is chipotle salt. So you take some chipotle pepper and
Nice.
mix it with salt. So you have something that's a little spicy, a little smoky, and then on the rim, lime, and then if you've got it, a grilled piece of pineapple. Delicious garnish. And you can
Nice,
even like
nice.
dip dip the pineapple in the pepper salt as well.
I mean, it's like I can't see it doing so well here with the tequila culture of it, but interesting that it
Mm-hmm.
was invented here with that in mind.
Yeah, no, that's kind of
Like
an interesting that he took it back to, um, obviously took it back to the North American area. I believe that he was somewhere in the Caribbean, but yeah,
that's
kind of
such
interesting
a
that that started in a
such a
cocktail
such a
class in London.
yeah. It's I feel like I've heard this story before.
Right.
uh, yeah, that's it's a heavily creative take on bringing tequila in because like you look at the ingredients and on their overall categorization it's a super simple cocktail, but then
Of
you
course.
add just like a couple of weird little process to it and suddenly it's like a totally different flavor
Yeah.
profile, right? um
Yeah. It's
when you first said pork with it, I was like, okay, that's a strange one, but to be fair, pork it's very salty by its nature, right?
yes.
And salt is something that is so often paired with tequila because of how well it goes with the agave. So
Yeah.
actually, like it's something that I imagine when people hear of it, or like if you saw it on a menu, it'd probably take you aback at first.
Of course.
But if you know really anything about kind of the way that flavor profiles work or the way that taste matching works, like actually conceptually it makes sense. So I can see why that would
Yeah, it's
work.
kind of cut all of the little flavors. Like you got the sweet, the salty, the spicy, the umami, all of the different,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, all in one. So I think that it would be. I think it
I
would
mean,
sell well here. I think for
yeah,
sure.
I can see that. I think less so here, but it would still be a really cool
Well, you guys can't do
kind of.
spicy, so I understand.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know. Some places have success with spice. It do well in a tequila bar.
Yeah, there you go.
I'd say that. Honestly, it'd do well at a place like Crazy Pedro, like because of the food
Well,
element
it's
of it,
fair,
right? Like
of course.
I can see it. But their fat washing process will probably be um relatively. I guess it's not that difficult to fat wash, anyways, right? So
No, and
um,
like the recipe that I was going on wasn't. It was developed. It was initially fat washed, but like most of like if you'd see this on a menu here in the U.S., it's not fat washed. It's
right,
just
right.
regular Blanco tequila.
I see, I see. I mean, there's definitely ways to do that in most places. I think fat
Oh yeah, it's
washing
fun.
is something that like seems super complicated when you say it, but it's
It
really really easy to do.
it's just
Like
time consuming, but like not
yeah,
all at once. Like you just have to make yourself available for 6 hours to like check in every like 2 hours for 15 minutes. And one of those sort
yeah,
of
yeah. I had
background
a
tasks.
um a fat washed rye whiskey on my
Hmm.
Moxie menu where I did it with truffle oil and we just leave it overnight.
Oh yeah.
Um, like in like the walk-in freezer and then get it out the next day and it was pretty good.
Yep. I've
I
done that
like
too
fat
on the
washing as a
menu.
technique. I think it's a really cool way of adding depth to a spirit.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so I definitely
once I love it. Mm.
I'd try it. I'd try it for sure. What any particular Blanco that would be your go-to for that? Do you think?
My personal go-to is hands down Espolon. I think it's really
Okay.
versatile. It has a really clean palate to it. I personally don't really care for like Don Julio or Patron or any of those. Um, More
Okay.
name brandy, like have the I think that there's some quality that gets lost there. Um, but it's mid-level tequila. It's really good. Anytime that I give it to someone, they instantly like it.
Yeah,
That's
I
probably
don't
what I
think
would
I've
go with.
heard of Espolon. Do we have Espolon?
It's a really cool bottle. It has like skulls on it.
I mean, we
If you
sell
do
it
have it in the
here,
UK, I'd
but
say you should try it.
it's expensive.
Well, I mean,
I mean, it's not like crazy high, but it's in the 30s, which for
yeah, I guess that's what
non-straights
it
you're
is about
looking.
here too. But I mean, when you look
Um,
at like, it's cheaper than like Patron or Casamigos or something like that, and I think tastes infinitely better.
yeah, I don't rate Casamigos very much. Oh God, Casamigos is so expensive here as well. Yeah, yeah.
I know.
I mean, it's we do sell it here. I don't think I've ever seen it. I think the way you described it is kind of similar to the way that we use El Tequileño.
Oh yeah,
It's like a sort of middle shelf, good quality. Like it's not um, it's not got too much bite. It's quite smooth. It's a nice balance on it. So
yeah. I
it
know
certainly
people here that like
I
to
could
shoot it
definitely
with orange and a little cinnamon. It's really nice that way.
interesting. Yeah, when we do the shots here, li- lime and salt, or they just do
Of
it.
course.
Like
Yeah.
there's no extra complications there. The lime and salt tequila shot was my introduction to tequila, and I think that really left a
You got to
sour
try it with an
mark.
orange.
Yeah,
People
maybe
are sleeping on that.
maybe I'll hate it
What
slightly
cocktail
less
did
with
you
that.
bring?
So I obviously with my limited tequila knowledge and enjoyment, I kind of I wanted to keep it a little bit more simple and go with something that actually I have somewhat enjoyed before, which
Mm-hmm.
is the Batanga.
Ooh,
The
delicious.
Batanga is a slightly older one. It was originally created by Don Javier. Don. He's got a much longer name than that, but that's the general of it. He was the owner of La Capilla. Uh, he
Okay.
made it sometime in the '60s, I believe. Um, it's essentially a Cuba Libre with tequila, but there's a couple of extra kind of little bits that give it its own little uniqueness. As a cocktail, it's not difficult to make. It's not complicated. There's not too much to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that simplicity really helps it. It's obviously a Blanco Tequila, lime juice, Coke, same as like a Cuba Libre is. One important factor is, as I said, as I mentioned earlier about the way that salt goes so well with the tequila. There is salt
Mm-hmm.
in the drink, not in
Oh,
the
I
form
like
of
that.
saline solution like it often is in everything now. But very specifically, he would put in a pinch of salt or like to taste, I guess, but usually a pinch of salt
Mm-hmm.
with the lime juice first and give it a little stir so that the salt dissolves.
Okay.
Then you add the tequila, you add the coke, you add the ice, etc. Um, Something that he did quite ritualistically, which has kind of followed since in this is how you're meant to do it. Is for the lime juice he would generally cut the limes fresh and squeeze them
Okay.
in. Uh, and the knife that he cut the limes with is what he would use to stir the drink. So when you've got everything in
Oh, okay.
together, because it's a build drink, it's stirred, but as opposed to stirring it with a spoon or whatever, you stir it with the knife. And I think that
Oh,
that's
all right.
like logistically, it makes absolutely no difference.
No, of
But
course
for the
not.
character of the drink, I think
Sure.
it's a really fun little way of, I there's so much to be said in cocktail culture for the story behind things, right?
Yes.
And I think it always adds just a little bit of extra oomph to a drink when you've got some kind of interesting story behind it or something that's a conversational point at the bar if someone asks about
Yeah,
it.
I
You know,
agree with
I
that.
think we've said in a couple of our creative recipes, we've taken that into account when we've said things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's probably one of the main selling points of this drink. Really, it's simple, it's easy to drink, most people can enjoy it, but it has that lovely kind of classic ritual behind it. Um, I initially heard of it actually because I think it was not last year, year before, maybe. there was this weird trend that happened on TikTok of a lot of social media bartenders, particularly like TikTok and Instagram Reels bartenders,
Hmm.
that I don't remember who started it, but a lot of the ones that were like semi-popular to relatively popular all discussed it in private with each other, where they created this fake trend of Batanga Week. Um, and I follow a few of these bartenders, and I saw it from one of them initially who posted about the Batanga. And I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. And then I saw it from another one like the next day. I was like, oh, interesting. And I
Interesting.
saw loads of them posting it. I'm like, oh, so there is like a Batanga Week thing. Cool. I'll try one. I tried one. It was pretty good. I mean, it's just Coke, you know. And then at the end of that week, the creator I'd seen post about it first posted being like, I have something to tell you. We made this shit up.
Oh, that's so
And
funny.
showed like some of the messages in the group chats and stuff, and like took a picture with a load of other creators and stuff. I was like, but it was so well organized because no one knew, no one suspected it, and actually, like Batanga started trending. Like there were
Oh, that's
searches for it,
wild.
and it was like they
Yeah.
created this trend for it, and I thought that was. I don't remember exactly what the motivation was behind it. It might be worth doing some research, self or at home or whatever on it. I thought it was a really cool way of doing it, but I mean, that was how I heard of it, so it
Yeah.
worked, I guess, right? I just thought
I'm
it was
sure
really
you've got a
cool.
lot of confused bartenders wondering, like, why is everyone ordering this drink?
Yeah, because like a lot of the time you see these trends, and you're like, oh, it's Margarita week or whatever. You're like, okay,
Of
I didn't
course. Yeah.
even if you think, oh, I didn't know it was, you do a bit of research and like, oh, of course it is.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
then yeah, like right now in Manchester, it's like Manchester's cocktail week or whatever, where a lot of
Oh,
places are
okay.
offering free or discounted or special cocktails.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
Not really that big of an event actually within. It's more popular in your chainy kind of bars, but
Of course.
people get a wristband for it, and it gets them X price for things or X discount at these bars. Um,
Hmm.
that's a thing that I didn't know was a thing until this year, but I've seen it in lots of places, and I've seen kind of origins of it. I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. The way that they push this Batanga thing, I was like, oh, I've seen a lot of other bartenders talk about it, so it obviously is a thing. It's Batanga, and it just wasn't. They just made it up
Of course.
for click.
Oh,
And
that's so great.
yeah, so the drink itself has a really interesting story, but also my introduction to it I thought was interesting. So it's
Oh, I
something that
love that.
has
That's great.
stuck in memory, let's say. I also I attempted to make a when I was doing development at Moxie, I was considering a twist on it where I used cascabel honey, which is like a honey
Hmm.
tequila liqueur, and lemon juice instead of lime. And it was really nice. I just decided against it in the end, in favor of a
Still with the
more.
Coke?
Yeah, still with the Coke, yeah.
Okay.
The honey went really
Honey and
well with the
Coke
Coke,
together.
actually. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. I
I can
was
see
quite
that working.
surprised how well it worked, and it's a nice drink, and I'll hold on to that. And because of the honey, the lemon juice balanced it better than the lime juice
Hmm.
would have done. The
I
salt
think
was
that
still
makes sense.
nice on it. Um, the salt really kind of brought out like the almost floral notes in the honey, but yeah, it was really good. I just because I was only putting one tequila cocktail on the menu, I went with the Paloma one because it was more tequila focused, right? Like,
Sure.
I feel like
That makes sense.
the yeah, but yeah, it was it's something that I've got a bit of personal history with, and that's not very common with tequila, so that was why I went with that one. Um,
No, it
yeah,
sounds
uh,
delicious.
so two again, we continue the trend of picking kind of wildly different drinks.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
That
It
doesn't
was your
surprise
turn
me,
to go
though.
with a contemporary classic this week.
Yeah.
How I did last week, so that's cool. Right, shall we get creative? So
Spin the wheel.
at most of my bars, people come in and go, "Can I have tequila?" They want a shot, but we're thinking, in our proverbial on the fly bar, a trademark pending. Uh, maybe we still need to come up with a name for the bar itself, right? Like on the fly bars, just maybe the bar's called on the fly. Who knows?
There you go.
There's no actual menu. They just ask for things, and we point them towards one that we've made before. Um, there you go. It's a
Oh, yeah, that
concept
would be
bar.
a.
I mean, I've heard of concept bars before that don't have menus, so
I
you
worked at
know,
a place that didn't have a cocktail menu for most of the
yeah,
time that I worked there, and it
yeah.
was
Maybe
every
maybe
day
that's
was an adventure.
so that's how our bar works. But every week, we add 2 more to the non-existing menu that people can get.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, right now, if you want a brandy cocktail, sorry, come back next week.
Yeah, no.
Or in a few weeks. I don't know when we're gonna do brandy. Yeah, right. Let me hold on. It should be working if I load it up. Hold on, and wheel. There we go. All right, we'll start with the modifiers then, because we've got spirit, of course.
Yep.
Let's spin the wheel and see what we end up with for our first creative ingredient today.
Hope it's a good one.
It is. Oh, is it going to stop there, or is it going to? Okay, it is the fantastically misspelled, as I've just learned, passion fruit syrup.
Passion fruit
I've
syrup.
put a T
Okay.
at the end of passion. I'm not really sure why. Yeah, it's a passion fruit syrup. I would say that a puree is also acceptable here. Just
of course.
Not juice, not liqueur. Somewhere in between that. Okay. So passion fruit has a flavor. Are you having any initial thoughts on this?
Well, yeah, I would think that, passion fruit goes really well with pineapple juice. And so I would probably do a blend of those two things together to try to balance that into just like another flavor instead of just coming very forward with the passion fruit.
That certainly makes sense.
Pineapple tequila, 10 out of 10.
My initial thought, though, I would prefer to find something a bit more interesting, also includes that, because the first thing I think of with anything passion fruit is a porn star martini. It's passion fruit based and it's very popular, and it is passion fruit and pineapple juice with vodka. Very, very easy to just sub in tequila. I'm reluctant to just follow that as much as it's the easy answer, because we want to get creative with things, right?
Sadly, I want to name that drink, though.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. You got just some kind of riff on a porn star. Maybe start naming names. I don't know. It was a popular Mexican porn star. An OnlyFans martini. God, you're so right. Maybe we just do that. We just put tequila in it, and it's an OnlyFans martini. Yeah, I like it. But if people come into this proverbial bar, if we have any reputation so far, it's that we don't keep things simple.
No, that's very true.
So if we're really trying to bring forward that kind of passion fruit flavor, I think as much as the main thing it's been used in is these very basic kind of porn star vibes or whatever, there's also certainly something to be said for the fruit itself being a very kind of tropical flavor, right? So maybe that's something we can take it more down that line.
Doing some sort of like tropical tequila drink.
Yeah,
I like that. And you'd be using it with like an orange or some other like orange mix, like orange mango.
Yeah. We seem to go to mango a lot when it comes to tropical flavors, but it's because it's so effective for it, right?
It is, yeah. And I think people kind of expect certain flavors when it comes to like tropical,
Yeah, for sure. I've had a very kind of weirdly specific thought here that I don't know exactly how you would achieve it, right?
Okay.
Do you have Solero ice creams in America? Is that a thing?
Solero ice cream. I don't believe
Solero. So. It's like orange flavor, and it's like it's a very weird kind of rare mix between really fresh citrusy juices and ice cream, right?
Okay.
Which, when mixed well, are super, super refreshing.
That sounds delicious.
I started thinking down alternative routes, and because we were talking about it earlier, started thinking about your more kind of frozen blended drinks. As much as we hate making them, they certainly make sense for refreshing. And as we've said, tequila goes well in it. Passion fruit also goes well in these kind of drinks, I would say. Even if it's not necessarily a syrup, as we're being a little bit loose with the description of that,
sure.
Even if we don't go straight to a syrup or puree, we could literally just put passion fruits in it. Like, if you scoop out the passion fruit and put that straight in it, or you take a puree and use that. I'm thinking kind of along the build of a pina colada.
Okay.
But going through it kind of step by step and keeping the same refreshing elements of the pina colada and textural elements of the pina colada, but taking it in a kind of really tropical, summery tequila route. I think
Interesting.
it's
Yeah.
it's quite risky because it's one of those that if it doesn't work, it's bad, right? But
Right. Right. But I
I
think,
think
if you're explaining this, this ice cream well, which I think you are. So I think that is inoffensive in and of itself,
like
right?
if I'm
And if you're
naming it
blending it,
right,
like anything that you blend is going to be, I think
mhm.
that would work. I
So a
think you add maybe
Solero
like a
ice
little
cream
lime juice to it.
for a little bit more context, the Solero ice cream it was really popular here, sort of 2000s. It's
Okay.
basically it's I'll put a picture in the Discord for you so you can see what it
Oh,
looks
it's like
like basically.
gelato. It's like
Um,
gelato. Okay, I know what that is.
in the generals here, if I put that, it looks like this. Okay, so it's like an ice lolly,
Okay.
like a popsicle, right?
Hmm.
And it's ice cream with kind of like orange, almost kind of like a sorbet juicy ice thing going through it
Oh,
with like
okay.
an orange ice around it, right? And what you get is you get the mixture of the creaminess of the ice cream, but also it's got like those kind of pineapple notes. It's got even on the picture of Solero, there
Mm,
like if you look on the wrapper, there is a picture of a passion fruit. There is passion
there
fruit in it.
is.
It's like tropical vibes. This is what I'm
Oh,
thinking to base it on with
sure.
the passion fruit and the tequila because I feel like tequila can work really well with this. So you probably do put some pineapple
Yeah.
juice in it, right? You said as you said it
Yeah.
works really well with it. You put some pineapple juice, you put tequila, you put some passion fruit puree, and then ice. Or if you want to go really down the ice cream route to make it Solero, maybe like a coconut cream as
Oh,
opposed to like
coconut cream.
directly
Yeah, that would be
ice cream.
great.
As opposed to
Yeah, because
directly ice cream, maybe like a
I'm looking at this and it reminds me of like an orange dreamsicle bar that we'd have here, right? And I think that would be kind of a little bit along the lines of that. But yeah, I think if you put some coconut cream to kind of give that kind of a hint of that thick ice cream
yeah.
sort of
And you know, if
beverage.
you're kind
Yeah.
of if you're blending it with ice, I feel like you're not gonna have too much of an issue with the um with like curdling or anything like that, right? Because it's gonna
No, of course not. And coconut
um
and tequila go together terrifically as well.
that's what I'm thinking. So if we were to take put 50 ml tequila,
Hmm.
20 ml passion fruit syrup, 50 ml pineapple juice, 100 ml cream of coconut, maybe 50
Hmm.
ml cream of coconut. Um,
Hmm.
I'm unsure on the number of that just because I don't know. I don't want the flavor
What
of the
about
coconut to come through too much, but
what
for
about
the
like
body,
10
I feel
mil
like
of lime juice to that?
yeah,
Yeah.
just for the extra balancing. Um,
Yeah.
and then blend it with some crushed ice.
Yes.
Um, you get it in a nice big kind of like a sundae glass or maybe like a sling kind of
Hmm.
vibe to it, right? Um, put a passion fruit half or wedge on top, little umbrella,
Oh, gotta have the
nice little
umbrella.
kind of tropical frozen drink.
Yeah, I like this.
I'd I'd order that, and I don't like
Yeah, I would
tequila.
too.
I'd
I
order
think it'd be
that.
delicious. Yep.
I think it's a much less safe bet. Sure. The only thing the bet I'm really kind of I don't know how much of the cream of coconut to put in.
I
I think
think
you'd have to bear in
probably.
mind what cream of coconut you have, right? Because if you have a good quality cream of coconut, the coconut
Yeah.
flavor isn't too strong and it has that
No.
kind of milky texture to it. If you get a bad one, it has a bit too much of like a sugary thick texture and too much of
Right.
the coconut flavor. And you don't want that.
I don't know.
We want like a
Like 30
proper
mil,
fresh
40 mil.
coconut milk,
Yeah.
right? A fresh coconut milk. I'd put more than that in because I think it'd give it a good
Oh,
body.
sure.
You know,
Yeah.
like
No, I
I'm
think that,
sort of
that at
thinking
a minimum.
between 50 and 100, but I for the body. Um, Depending on how long of a drink you want to make it. I guess if you're doing the pineapple juice as well, you can probably get away with 50. It'd probably be fine.
Yeah, I think 50, 60,
Maybe
somewhere in that
less
neighborhood would be
pineapple
good.
juice on that basis.
Sure.
Um, if you
Yeah,
were to
kind
do
of
like 30
so
ml
you don't
pineapple
detract from
juice,
from
something
the
like that.
passion fruit.
Yeah. So you do like 50 ml tequila, 20 passion fruit syrup,
Yes.
30 of the pineapple juice, 50 coconut cream, and then like 10 ml lime for balancing.
Yeah, I think just like a little bit of lime juice in there to kind of
Yeah,
bring some clarity to it.
It sounds as a bartender,
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like a pain in the ass because it's
Of course.
a frozen blended drink with 7 different ingredients in it.
We could even call it like the bartender's nightmare. Like,
yeah, like it's got like 7 different ingredients in it, all
and a
of
blender.
which have different measurements.
Uh-huh.
Like there's only like one repeat on measurements. There's a 10 ml, a 20 ml, a 30 ml. You know, maybe just for the laugh of it, coconut cream 40 ml. So you just have 10, 20,
yeah,
30,
definitely.
40, 50.
Can't have anything.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
I
Memorize
think that
this.
that makes it kind of funny, yeah. And you yeah. I think that's an interesting drink. I'd try that.
Yeah, I would too.
Adds a nice summery one to the menu.
So seasonal.
I think name wise, you could call it the bartender's nightmare because it'd be accurate.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be tempted, depending on the vibe of the bar, to just call it "fuck you."
Yeah, no, that works too.
I think
Yeah.
that'd be a funny one. But the one that makes most sense is just call it a Solero, right? It's
Sure.
based on the flavors and the vibes of a Solero, so it that makes sense.
We wouldn't know what was happening at the U.S. branch of this bar, but y'all would know.
Yeah, what was the one you said it's similar to? Probably name it after that.
Like
right?
orange dreamsicle.
Yeah, call it an orange dreamsicle, and I guess it's not orange flavor though, is it? So
no.
Well, you know what? We have lots of cocktails that are named after things that are nowhere near us. So
of course,
we still call it a Manhattan, even in Manchester. So I think to keep to its roots.
The Solero.
We'll stick with Solero. I think. Yeah, I think I may have left that up on screen a little bit too much, so I don't know if it'll probably show in just my Google search underneath us for a good chunk of that, but that's my bad. Anyway, let's get to the everything wheel.
All right.
I'm sure it's showing that. It should be. Yeah.
Passion fruit stuff. And I can think of some things that I don't want to have. I don't want to have it
I can think of some I don't as well. This is the wheel of everything, so this includes alcohols and modifiers. So let's see what we get on here. Obviously, we're allowing re-rolls if it's really bad.
Yeah, it's bad. Do. Uh-oh.
Okay.
The face your face is facing.
Scotch whiskey.
Ooh.
With tequila.
Now let's.
We'll
it just sounds like a blackout.
We'll at least give it a minute to think.
But and then passion fruit?
It's not just whiskey, it's Scotch, which is very peaty, very harsh.
I can't imagine mixing a flavor with Scotch, really. Like
I
outside of maybe some Drambuie, but like, ooh.
There definitely are Scotch cocktails.
Yeah.
But they are very carefully crafted around Scotch. And I think if we make a cocktail with Scotch and passion fruit in it, we will never ever get a Scottish person in our bar again.
No, we'll anger them.
I'm gonna vote a reroll on that.
86 the Scotch.
Yep. Sorry guys, we actually don't have any Scotch in right now. So we can't make that for you. Is there anything else you'd like instead with your tequila and passion fruit?
Roll.
Tabasco / spice.
Okay, this is great.
Now we're talking.
No, I love spicy cocktails.
Some kind of spice, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, with the passion fruit is certainly interesting.
Sure. And in this case, maybe we could pivot back to a passion fruit puree, because my initial thought with spice is infusing some agave, because agave goes so well with tequila and is a great vehicle for spice.
True. Like a chili infused.
Yeah.
Agave.
Have some chilies infused with your agave, and then you could still make some sort of spicy cocktail with the passion fruit puree. Otherwise, I feel like it would get too sweet if you're using a passion fruit syrup.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you necessarily want to infuse a passion fruit syrup either. It might come out a little weird.
That's true. That's true. Maybe you could do something with the passion fruit puree to make it even less sweet, right? Maybe
Sure.
you kind of blend it with something that gives it a bit more of a, I don't know, kind of like an earthy feel to it, right? I don't know. I don't know exactly what you would do with that. I've not worked with passion
Well,
fruit puree very much, but
you could think of like if you're doing like an agua fresca. I made that with like cantaloupe before. And
hmm,
so you're using the puree and you're kind of lengthening it with some water.
right,
You could
right.
make some sort of agua fresca with the passion fruit. And then with your spicy agave and your tequila, have sort of like a play on like a paloma or some other sort of long
See,
drink.
I was just thinking if you think the Paloma kind of build, maybe you, even if it's not just water, you could use the passion fruit puree almost to create like a passion fruit soda.
Sure,
Um,
yeah, that would be great
like
too.
mix it with some
Yeah,
water and carbonate it, right?
yeah.
If you get like some really fresh, even boiled down or whatever, and you put it with
Hmm.
some soda, it's not going to have as much sweetness when it's in a soda form because of the way that soda is in general,
Of
right?
course not. Yeah,
Um, and you can always add something a little bit kind of herbaceous into it as well. Maybe it's a passion fruit and to really hit that kind of bitterness on it, you know, like a sort of more balancing act.
sure.
Um, so you've not got too much of the sweetness. Um, but if you were to do it with
Well,
like a
you could
passion
even
fruit
use like
soda,
maybe like mint, spearmint, or something like that. That would kind of like bring that out a little bit, and mint and spicy goes well together too, and tequila.
does it go with passion fruit?
Sure.
You sounded less
What
confident with
what
that.
sort of herbal element did you have
I don't,
in mind?
I don't know. I don't have a specific.
Like a basil, maybe?
I've not worked too much with passion fruit in the way that it makes basil could definitely work. I've not worked with passion
Basil
fruit too
works really
much
well with a lot of
outside of
sweeter fruits.
Pawn Star. I feel like I really like your idea of the like sort of chili agave.
Hmm.
I just worry that you put that with the passion fruit, and if you don't do something to make sure the passion fruit is not too sweet,
Hmm.
it's going to end up unbalanced
Oh,
and too
absolutely.
passion fruit
That's why I
heavy.
like your soda idea. Making a passion fruit soda, I think,
Yeah. And I think if you
solves
do it
that
with proper
problem.
fresh puree, the soda shouldn't then be too sweet. But I
No,
was thinking maybe, you know, if you were to add something else into it, you could kind of um
I mean
go,
lime
you know, a
saves
little bit.
everything.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, if you go with a Paloma build, you'd
You need lime anyway.
yeah. So you kind of build it
Yeah,
out like a Paloma, but you use a passion fruit soda and
some spicy agave.
the spicy agave as like a sort of sugar component, and then your usual, you know, 20-25 ml lime.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that'd
maybe
be delicious.
garnish with some kind of spicy rim, like your chipotle salt rim from earlier, or
Yeah.
a tagine rim is really popular here.
Yes. Oh yeah, tahini's
Um,
super popular here too.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think that'd be delicious.
I could really see that working. Yeah. Um, maybe give it like a a crushed ice cap and like a rosemary sprig or something like that.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice.
Just a kind of something a bit maybe as opposed to doing anything with the passion fruit to balance that. If you have something herbal on the nose, it'll
Yeah,
take
just kind of.
it'll affect that sweetness, right? So you put that maybe
I
a
like
mint
that.
sprig or a rosemary.
Sure.
Like I think rosemary works really well for that actually. Um,
Yeah, I take back the mint. The rosemary is, I think,
yeah,
really.
like a rosemary sprig with like a tahini or a chipotle
Yeah.
rim. Um, and then the passion fruit won't bring too much of the sweetness anyways because you'll have so much on the nose. The soda, as soon as you start mixing it
Yeah.
with soda, if you're not specifically making it to be super sweet, it's going to be, it has that.
No.
I don't know how to describe the flavor that soda comes with because
Well, it's the
it's like TV
carbonation
static, you know.
that adds that
It's kind of
flavor
like a
to it.
bitterness, right? But it's
Yep.
yeah, like and then name wise, okay,
Oh
now
no.
we have to start thinking OnlyFans again, right?
Okay.
Because
Okay.
not only are we taking the passion fruit kind of vibes that a porn star has, and
Sure.
putting it in a Paloma, but also we're literally making it spicy, which is often a word
Yes.
used to describe that type of content,
It is.
right?
Yes, that's correct.
So now, I don't know if I want to have this on my Google history, but do you reckon there's any famous porn stars that have the name Paloma?
Oh my God, I'm
I'm,
sure.
I'm
I'm sure.
I'm gonna have a look, because if we're gonna Paloma
Make sure
porn
that's not up on the
star.
screen.
Oh, it might be. Wait, hold on. wait. Close that wheel.
Close that wheel.
Paloma.
Unbelievable.
Gia Paloma. There you go.
Gia
She's got an
Paloma.
IMDb
Great.
page. That's incredible. Wow. She's a porn
You're
star
gonna
with
come
an
back
IMDb
like
page.
on our next and tell us all about
Yeah.
Gia Paloma.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some research for the
I'm a
sake
connoisseur
of the
now.
podcast. There you go.
Ugh.
So the Gia Paloma. Unless you can
Gonna
think
get a
of something
cease and
better, I
desist.
think thematically it works, and it's
Nailed
funny.
it. 10 out of 10.
All right, listen. Some of our names are very classy and contemporary, and some of them are the Soviet Shamrock and the Gia Paloma. All right.
Yeah.
Life
no.
is about balance.
Perfect. It is. Yeah.
On that note, recipe wise for this, 50 ml tequila.
Yeah, 50 ml tequila. I would probably say like
20
maybe
lime.
Yeah, 20 lime, probably about
20,
the same of the agave and spicy agave.
yeah,
Maybe
20
up to like
20
25.
lime, 20 lime, 20 spicy agave. Top with passion fruit soda.
Passion fruit soda, yeah. And then rim with your tahine.
Rim with tahine, rosemary sprig, crushed ice cap.
Crushed
Well,
ice
actually,
cap.
you probably. Do you still want to do the crushed ice cap?
Are you gonna want to drink it through the crushed ice cap? That's my only thing.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
The crushed ice cap was more to have the rosemary sit nicely, but you can just put the rosemary in even if it doesn't have that.
Slam it in.
Not... Yeah. Like it'll be fine, right? Yeah. Like you could even peg it onto the side if you want to get extra fancy, right?
Sure.
So you get a rosemary sprig and a tahine rim, just cubed ice
and a lime. Yep.
That really works.
Cool.
Two very contrasting drinks. Again, we're quite good at this, you know. We should consider this for a career or something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so one very spicy tequila based drink and one very refreshing one. So you start with the spicy one, and then to deal with the spice from that, you have the
coconut milk's great for that.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, nice. Yeah, we've really thought out the full meal of the day, you know. I add on some nachos as a potential snack that you can get alongside it. The first food item on our menu.
Yeah.
Probably second, because we'd have to have
nachos.
Olives, right? You always have to have olives, but we'll have some olives and some nachos. There you go. Proverbial menu set. I like it.
I'm into it. Yeah.
Okay, so we have the what do we call the first one? The Solero, right? We have the Solero and the Gia Paloma.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's certainly something. Right. Well, in that case, then that's gonna be everything for this week.
That's it.
I've enjoyed this exploration of tequila.
Me too.
I feel like I've learned a lot about it today, which is cool. And who knows? Maybe I've got some things to try myself now. Maybe I'll find some liking for it in the end, anyways. But yeah, make sure you if you listen or watch on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and like the video. If you listen on Spotify, rate us 5 stars. Follow. We're trying to, as long as we manage to keep up with it, get a new episode out every week. Fridays seems to be the scheduling at the moment. I'll try and stick to that. So yeah, Friday-ish. Yeah. We'll start your weekend. That's what we'll say. There's no day schedule. We'll start your weekend. But yeah. So until next week, then. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.
Bye, all.